Annunciation Radio presents Say Yes to Life with Peter Range, Senior Fellow for Strategic Initiatives at the Center for Christian Virtue.
From the studios of Annunciation Radio, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Say Yes to Life, where we learn to embrace our Catholic faith in the secular world. I'm your host, Peter Range, Senior Fellow for the Center for Christian Virtue, and welcome to show number 446 as we continue the fight for every single human life, born, preborn, and yours in our world today. On today's show, we're excited to welcome back Shawn Carney. He's the president and CEO of 40 Days for Life. Shawn began as a volunteer in the pro-life movement while still in college. During this time, he helped lead the first ever local 40 Days for Life campaign. After graduating from college, Shawn was asked to serve as the executive director of the Coalition for Life, a local pro-life organization in Texas made up of more than about 60 churches. From its beginning, Shawn has been instrumental in growing 40 Days for Life nationally and then internationally. Shawn also remains one of the most sought-after pro-life speakers, addressing audiences coast to coast and internationally. Shawn and his wife, Marilisa, were portrayed in the 2019 major motion picture Unplanned, which if you haven't seen yet, you need to go watch it, but it tells the story of Abby Johnson's conversion as Planned Parenthood director. Shawn is the author of 4 national best-selling books, including most recently, What to Say When To, Your Proven Guide in the New Abortion Landscape. Shawn and I are going to be talking about Charlie Kirk, 40 Days for Life, and more in just a minute here. But first, let's go ahead and take 180 seconds around Ohio and the nation to talk about what's happening in the pro-life movement and the news. All right, first, please call your Ohio State representative if you live here in the state of Ohio, or senator to support HB 324. It's the Patient Protection Act. So Representatives Adam Matthews from Lebanon, a great Catholic, and Meredith Craig from Smithville introduced House Bill 324, named the Patient Protection Act. It's legislation to protect Ohioans from unknowingly taking drugs that frequently cause severe, life-threatening effects in patients. Under the proposed law, any drug that causes severe adverse effects in over 5% of patients would be subject to common sense guardrails meant to ensure responsible care for the patient. Now, this is important because not only would it affect all drugs, but it would affect mifepristone. Here in Ohio, which is the leading cause of abortion, it's the pill that women take to have an abortion. And just recently this year, the Ethics and Public Policy group, they released out of Washington, D.C., a study that found that 10.93% of women who took mifepristone experienced a serious adverse event, such as sepsis, infection, or hemorrhaging within 45 days. That rate was 22 times higher than the rate that's been cited in the FDA's clinical trial for mifepristone. So this is common sense legislation we're hoping to pass here in Ohio, but we need your support to do it. All right, secondly, recently from Live Action, they just did an interview with Emma Waters. She's from the Heritage Foundation. We've actually had Emma on the show here to talk a little bit about IVF. She was talking about reproductive technology as well as IVF on the video with Live Action. It's really well done and something I can easily share with family and friends. So I encourage you to do that, especially for a culture that's embraced IVF, just to know more about it. So check it out today at liveaction.org. Third and finally, tomorrow, Friday, it is the Ohio March for Life. So Melissa Oden is the keynote speaker. She'll be speaking around 11 a.m. There's a pre-rally concert that begins at 10 a.m. It's right at the Ohio State Capitol. Join us for what is the largest gathering of Ohioans and pro-life Ohioans every year in the State House for the Ohio March for Life. It's a tremendous witness for the preborn, and we'll be talking a little bit more about the Patient Protection Act as well. All right, now it's time to welcome Shawn Carney. He's president and CEO of 40 Days for Life, and always is a good show. So, Shawn, welcome back to Say Yes to Life.
It's good to be back. Thanks for having me, Peter.
Yeah, I just want to begin maybe with a question. I asked Kristen Hawkins, who was on the show last week. She knew Charlie Kirk personally, didn't know if you knew him or not. But first, where were you when you heard the news about Charlie being shot, his death? And then what has struck you about the reaction to his tragedy? And then, I don't know if you got a chance to see any of the memorial service that followed, but just your reactions on these events over these past couple weeks, especially beginning with the shooting and assassination of Charlie Kirk.
Yeah, well, a couple of things. Number one, I was recording our podcast at our studio in our closed Planned Parenthood, where 40 Days for Life first began. That's our headquarters now. So I was up in College Station recording, and we stopped and said a prayer when he had been shot, and then hadn't seen anything or heard anything, and we're hoping it was much like the attempted assassination on President Trump, where he wasn't, severely wounded and all of that. And then, of course, we got the horrible news. So, it was hard to go back and record. We had to do it because we had people in and out of town, but it was a very frustrating experience, I would say, just being sort of locked in a studio all day, and maybe we were protected from a lot of the news. I don't know. But I think that after that, where we all kind of know where we were, it's not just who Charlie Kirk was. It's that he represented a greater reality that was happening, which is this positive outpouring and longing for God from Generation Z. I have to tell you, a couple of years ago, and I have teenagers, but of course I think my teenagers aren't the problem. It's everybody else's. But I was wrong on Gen Z, and I think a lot of people were, and what we underestimated was the COVID impact. We saw where the senior class, the high school senior class of 2024 was the most conservative senior class ever since we've been tracking it. We saw 40% of women 30 and under voting for Trump, which is insane. No one would have believed you last October. Yeah. And we're seeing a return to faith and marriage and having kids young and all that good stuff. And Charlie represented that. And he had the guts years ago to go on college campuses and say, no, we can get these people voting red. And I think one of the many beautiful things after his assassination and the celebration of life is most people, particularly the boomers who weren't as familiar with him, who didn't know him, they thought, yeah, he's like a young Republican conservative guy. And he certainly was, and was great articulating the conservative points. But he was far more than that, and his Christian faith came first, and he built everything around that. And I think that, thankfully, for me, was really highlighted upon him passing.
Yeah, he was a tremendous evangelist for the gospel of Jesus Christ. And the more he actually kind of continued in his ministry, the more that kind of came out, and he became a little bit less of a Republican, a little bit more of, I'm here for Christ. And if you watch his videos, unlike what people say about him, if you watch him, he's actually he puts the microphone down, he listens to folks, he walks with them, not perfect by any means, but I think that's why it hit us, or hit me at least, so hard, is this is someone who stood for free speech, giving his enemies the microphone, again, to give them an opportunity to speak. But to see elected representatives, judges, late night TV show hosts, and others kind of degrade his legacy and say negative things, it just, and some of them celebrate his death and laugh about it, just hugely, hugely disappointing to me. You've written 2 books on apologetics for folks to understand how to articulate the life issue. Have you, over the years, witnessed a slow degradation of our culture, of a lack of willingness to dialogue, whether it's pro-life, pro-choice? And can you connect the dots here for us? I mean, we live in a culture that accepts the death of innocence. I feel like we're all at risk for violence to a certain extent. Do you feel the same way?
Yeah. Yeah, and you and I are the pro-life guys, the abortion guys. We go out and we hold signs and are in front of Planned Parenthood. So everybody's gonna immediately accuse us of course, y'all think everything boils down to abortion, but in this case, it actually does. And the whole shock of it. How in the world could somebody shoot Charlie Kirk? We kill 3,000 babies a day. We can do a lot of stuff, And it goes back to Mother Teresa saying, if we can tell a mother that she can pay a doctor to kill her own child, how can we tell anyone not to kill anyone? It's a very great, powerful quote. It's not sweeping every other evil under the rug. It is saying the one who doesn't know what's happening to them at that moment and has no way of defending themselves, has no knowledge of what's going on, and is textbook might makes right. We're more powerful. You can't stop us, so we'll kill you. And that's what we do to the unborn. And it does cultivate this culture of violence, but something deeper in that. You mentioned the dialogue, which is why we wrote What to Say When and What to Say When To. And that is what's under attack. Charlie Kirk is dead because of cancel culture. That's why he's dead. And the cancel culture, which is the left saying, we don't talk anymore. We don't have dialogue, whatever their cause is. America's bad. Trump is evil. This land is stolen. Nothing's changed since slavery. All of this, abortion is the solution to every single problem in the world, including even saving the environment.
Yeah.
Once we don't talk about those things and we just cancel everybody, and this trans kid or the kid that shot him was dating the trans dude and all of that stuff, that he said in his own words, some hate can't be negotiated with or whatever. That's just cancel culture. I can't listen to this guy anymore. I can't take him. I hate him. I'm going to shoot him. And I have an opportunity to do it. And he did it. And that is, ironically and beautifully, Charlie Kirk died for what he was so passionate about and defended, which is free speech. And free speech not in, his grandma's basement on his computer, free speech, and I'm going to come, I'm going to meet you, I'm going to sit here, I'm going to wear a T-shirt, I'm going to, I loved how he would put a stick of gum in his mouth and listen to people. It's just very casual, very easy to be around, very loving, and they killed him for it. And that is the issue, is this the cancel culture to the extreme.
Yeah. With no communication, there can be no communion, and with no free speech in the United States of America, we have tyranny. I mean, we're literally built on the protection of free speech. And as vehemently as I disagree, who's someone who's pro-choice or someone who's a part of the KKK, allow the ideas to come into the public square so you can debate them, and then the truth will rise to the top. But if you try to suppress speech and suppress those who are attempting to speak, this is where you end up. This cancel culture, which ultimately tries to kill the other voice. But let's talk about signs of hope, because the 40 Days for Life has always been a sign of hope for me personally, but then also for so many people, including the lives that have been saved. So over 25,795 lives saved, 181 abortion centers closed, and 275 abortion workers who have quit their job. Tell us, Shawn, what you're excited about for this current campaign that we're in. And if you could just reflect with us for a minute. I don't know if you do this often because you're probably so busy just, continuing the work. But, this is, with God's help, has been a powerful movement of God to shut down abortion facilities, to convert abortion workers, and ultimately save over 25,000 lives. Can you just reflect for us on what it's been like being a part of this particular this movement?
Oh, it's been a great joy, obviously, and an honor to get to serve this movement. I mean, when we did the first campaign in 2004, just having no idea where it would lead us, personally, and overall the people that we get to meet. That's the beautiful thing. 40 Days for Life, we're trying to intercept this bad thing that's happening. The woman is going in. She doesn't know if she'll see us. She doesn't expect to see us. She probably doesn't want to see us in some cases. And we're just putting ourselves there, sort of forcing the issue of, hey, you don't have to do this today. And we're giving you a way out. And the irony is that's why everybody goes out there, is to save a baby. But you meet the best people in trying to do that. And that is what has been so beautiful for me. We've also just had wonderful, looking back over the years, just great team members come on board and work at 40 Days for Life, and our board members or volunteers just contribute so much. And I think the big picture on reflecting of where we are now, and I told this to the team in light of the Charlie Kirk assassination, is that the world needs good news right now. And 40 Days for Life, as you said, has, and I appreciate you saying that it's represented hope to you personally, because That's everybody's experience, and I get that a lot. And sometimes we have to kind of put on our boxing gloves and go after a certain person or Planned Parenthood or, do that. We don't do it a lot, or a politician. And I'll have people say, you got to say that, but I wish y'all didn't have to get in those battles. Y'all are like the good guys, the nice guys that, it's like a fresh cup of coffee every morning when I get your emails. And that's what it represents in the pro-life movement, is just good news, wholesome, pure, effective, and vibrant in these communities. We don't sit, of course we have to pray in our homes, of course we have to pray in our churches, but we got to go out there. Yeah. And 40 Days for Life, culturally now, not only is the pro-life movement at an all-time high of success, it's just been massive victory after massive victory, with new and real challenges that are going on too. But that our culture is hurting at a time when our movement is thriving. And the reality is that the assassination of Charlie Kirk, while tragic, happened for a reason. And it's because the left is losing the culture war. And I believe that's why you're seeing things like, this government shutdown, right? So they have their list of things that they are demanding that they get. The Democrats are, and the Republicans and all of that. But the Democrats are demanding this list. Funding Planned Parenthood is not on there. And I think that you're seeing those who advocated for abortion and the trans movement, I think that they're trading in those two issues for immigration, and that is their new cultural sort of moral good. You're just seeing a lot of people run away from abortion, and it creates a huge opportunity. As bad as it is in Ohio, as bad as it is in Michigan, where you have these constitutional, rights to abortion, you can, we closed the abortion facility in Warren, Ohio recently, as you know. Mm-hmm. So, it doesn't matter to a certain degree if we go out and change hearts and minds. And that's why the context of our role at 40 Days for Life specifically during this time is so important. And it is good news in the midst of so much evil that's going on.
Well, with all that evil, sometimes people just ask, well, what do I do? What do I do? And the 40 Days for Life it gives everyone a landing spot. Everybody can go and pray. And it's such an opportunity to be a witness to Christ's love. And I'll go to my grave. One of the happiest things that I've ever been a part of is, going there to the abortion facility here in Toledo, praying, having a young woman that I got a chance to speak with, and then her choosing life and getting to hold that little baby. To hold a mirror and to know that otherwise he would have been aborted had I not been there that day, through the grace of God. Again, that's something that, it's one of the proudest things I've ever done. And it's because of the 40 Days for Life campaign existed. And that little Amir is still here today, and he's still in Toledo, and he's still, growing up. So, I want to talk a little bit about pastors and priests, though, because this is maybe just one of those things I really got to, pray about a little bit myself. But your thoughts on pastors and priests that either A, don't talk about this issue because they say, look, it's too political. You've mentioned already on the show, Republicans and Democrats, and I've got both in my congregation, and I don't want to make this thing political. Or B, every time they talk about like Respect Life Month, for example, which is taking place in the Catholic Church right now, they feel the need to mention every other issue involving the human person and respecting their lives as well. It's almost as if you can't just talk about abortion because, again, there's other human life issues, which I don't disagree, but it's like telling the Cancer Society, well, why aren't you funding the end of AIDS or whatever it might be? It's like not every issue needs to be mentioned every single time. There's a hierarchy that we're called to respect and understand and appreciate. But I want to get your thoughts on pastors and priests that, either don't touch this because it's too political, or B, they feel like they got to hit every single life issue every time they mention it in church.
Yeah, I have some simple answers to this. Number one, this has gotten way better, by the way. Priests, most likely you're going to hear about abortion throughout October or January. The younger priests have been fantastic. The bishops situation is way better than it was 20 years ago. This has gotten way better than when I was growing up. And when I grew up, I was in a bubble. So we had just awesome priests who always talked about abortion. So I didn't realize this was like this real big issue until I moved away and met other people. But this has gotten a lot better overall. The bishops, look at what's going on with Bishop Supich, who has actually been, or Cardinal Supich, who has been very supportive of 40 Days for Life, and giving this award to a pro-abortion senator who's unapologetic, promotes abortion, loves abortion, and all that. And, the bishops are crashing down on him. And of course, Supich can't give an award to the guy. He just doesn't care or doesn't take the church seriously. It's one or the other. But, that there would have been 15 of those kind of bishops 20 years ago. So it has gotten better. But to your point of stopping at a stop sign is a pro-life, thing to do. Yes, we're safe. All issues are not the same. Cardinal Ratzinger wrote this in 2004. These issues are simply not proportional to abortion. Dismembering a baby and putting him or her in a canister and in a medical truck is not the same as an open border. It's just not. They're not morally equivalent. And it doesn't matter how many good priests or bishops say it. The reason they put the litany, particularly this is a problem in America. We're in 64 countries, and this is not a big issue internationally because of the way they're set up politically. They just don't want somebody who healthcare is their biggest issue or whatever it is, yelling at them after Mass. So they try to throw all these other categories in there and say, well, this is pro-life and this is pro-life. And what gets lost in that, what gets lost in the phrase pro-life sometimes is abortion. And abortion is the direct killing of an innocent human being. And it's the only time we do that, by the way, in our culture politically. There aren't other, I heard one time there was a liberal bishop on EWT, and he said, well, racism is just as important as abortion. And Raymond Arroyo asked the bishop, what national party, political party, is running with a platform of racism that we need to increase racists? We need more racists. We need more racism, and it's like, it's just ridiculous to make some of these comparisons. And so, to tell you the truth, I think politics is the answer. They don't want the people yelling at them after Mass, so they're either silent or they include the whole litany, or they're a parochial vicar and they think the pastor won't back them up.
Yeah, it's just so incredibly important that we understand and are able to articulate. And look, my personal life, I've lived with homeless men. I've worked with immigrants in Southwest Florida. I've taught in the inner city of Cleveland. All those issues that we've been talking about, whether it's racism or immigration, I care about, and I care very passionately about. And as Catholics, I think we're called to be in those spaces, but we can't dismiss the abortion issue by pulling on those other issues. Like the fact that we're killing 1 million kids every single year, there is nothing, as you mentioned, proportionate to that tragedy, to that evil. And if you disregard life at its most innocent stages, tell me where you're going to convince other people to care about human life at any other stage. You've got to get the foundation right. You've got to get the foundation right.
Peter,
so, yeah.
What you did, because you're like the best guy, but everybody falls into that when this happens, right? They're like, hey, one time I gave a homeless guy $5, or I volunteered at a soup kitchen, or I have 9, immigrants living at my house, and nobody has to do that. You don't have to do that, because what happens is when you defend the unborn, everybody wants you to solve all the other world's problems. They want you to go to, I remember people constantly yelling and throwing stuff at us at the sidewalk saying, go to Iraq, go help the kids in Iraq, and it's like, I can't do anything for the kids in Iraq, but I can do something for the kids here. Yeah. And we don't have to give yes, we actually care about the born people. We don't have to do that. That's absurd. The group of people that wants to kill people doesn't get to tell the group of people that doesn't want to kill people that they love people more. Yeah. So it's the oddest accusation that some pro-abortion person says you don't care about born people. It's like, what are you talking about? I wouldn't let you babysit my dog. You think that we can kill babies. So it is one of those things that sometimes we get defensive about, and they're, going back to your clergy question, and I want to say this again, that this has gotten a lot better. The Catholic Church is in fantastic shape in America compared to where we were even 10 years ago, certainly 20 years ago. The seminaries are better. The younger priests are more orthodox. It's really, really, phenomenal. The papacy has been weak, frankly. But despite that, the lay people have been extremely faithful, and so have the clergy. And overall, so have the bishops. So it's gotten a lot better. But, when you get into these conversations about the word pro-life encompassing every little thing, it's just nonsense. And frankly, I think it's avoidance a lot of times. They just don't want to deal with the controversy.
Yeah, it's a really good point, Shawn. And thanks for saying what you did before, too, because we don't have to apologize for being against murder. You don't have to preface it with anything. You can simply be against the killing of innocent children in the womb. Nothing wrong with that, and you don't have to justify it with anything else. We only got about a minute and a half left in the show, unfortunately, but from a grassroots perspective, 40 Days for Life, visit 40daysforlife.com today. Obviously, there's one taking place where the show is being hosted right now, Toledo, Ohio. We all need to pray. We all need to show up at the abortion facilities through our 40 Days for Life campaign. But what should we be asking maybe our elected officials to do right now, Shawn? Where should our focus be politically, I guess, as a movement today? Again, about a minute left in the show.
Well, it depends on what state you live in, because they sent it back to the states. That's what the Supreme Court did. And so know what your state pro-life laws are. That is so crucial at the state level, and then at the federal level to continue the defunding of Planned Parenthood. They simply cannot survive without that funding. Today, after this, I'm going down to Planned Parenthood in Houston, the largest one in the world. Today is their last day of business, and we are having a rosary out in front as they close their doors forever of a 78,000 square foot facility that never showed any signs of ever closing or going out of business, but they are. So, the defunding of Planned Parenthood is very, very important at the national level, and your state laws do matter. But in some of these states, and
Thanks, Shawn. We're going to have to end it there, but that's such a great point. Congratulations on the closing of that Planned Parenthood down there in Texas. God bless everybody. We'll talk to you next week on Say Yes to Life.